Roger Stone is best known as a political dirty trickster. In fact, he's proud of that description. But the question is, will the now arrested and indicted Trump friend and aide keep up with his tricks or become a treat for the special counsel Robert Mueller? Well, Stone arrested, as you know, in an early morning raid in Fort Lauderdale this past Friday. He's got a date in D.C. federal court tomorrow. But the question is, will he play ball with Mueller, assuming he has anything to offer the special counsel? Well, it depends on when you ask him. Here is Stone on Friday.
There is no circumstance whatsoever under which I will bear false witness against the president, nor will I make up lies to ease the pressure on myself.
That's after he threw up the big V signs from Nixon years. But that solid no was Friday. But now again, here is Stone just on Sunday.
Any chance you'll cooperate with Special Counsel Robert Mueller if he asks?
That's a question I'd have to determine after my attorneys have some discussion. If there's wrongdoing by other people in the campaign that I know about, which I know of none, but if there is, I would certainly testify honestly. I'd also testify honestly about any other matter, including any communications with the president.
Sounds like a yes, or at least a maybe, but Stone is also proclaiming his innocence, of course, insisting all these charges against him are only politically motivated. Here he is, likening himself to a key whistleblower in the case that took down Stone's idol, one Richard Milhouse Nixon.
The U.S. intelligence agencies actually completely disagree. They say what was important here is that Russia was interfering in our election, and then by helping that cause, aren't you aiding and abetting an adversary of the United States?
First of all, I challenge that characterization. It is unproven. It is a claim. I tried to do the same thing that Daniel Ellsberg did, for which the New York Times and the Washington Post called him a hero, although I never received any stolen or hacked material and handed it to anyone. All I did was take publicly available information and try to hype it to get it as much attention as possible, because I had a tip that the information was politically significant and that it would come in October.
Mr. Stone, a modern-day hero. Joining us now, former federal prosecutor Roland Riopel. Roland, where do they find these people? I'm not even joking. I mean, the rogues gallery that they have turned over, I don't know any people like this in my personal life, and I say that with pride, but one after another, they're crazier than the rest.
You know, Roger Stone's been hanging around politics for a long, long time on the Republican side, and there's just nothing he won't do. And now it seems like maybe the chickens are coming home to roost. We'll see.
It is amazing when you read through in the indictment that it's like he wanted to be part of this saga. I've never seen a person that seemed to want to be indicted. And when you read through it, which I know you have, where he's bringing up Godfather 2 characters, he's calling a guy a rat and a stoolie. He's saying, you almost intentionally had to be this level of a moron to say the things that he did, including threaten to put a hit on the dog, the therapy dog of Randy Credico. But is that more than ignorant? My point is, how much was he just a character here, or in fact possibly a major player?
He's a little of both. You know, this kind of stupid talk really only goes on in the movies and people who watch those movies too much. Real serious bad guys don't talk this way because they know somebody might be listening and it might come out later, and then it becomes the best evidence against you. And it's stupid and beyond stupid to talk that way. With that said, you know, Mr. Stone is clearly a very important link between WikiLeaks, which was the sort of cover story for the Russians, and the Trump campaign. The indictment makes that absolutely clear, that Roger Stone is the go-between for the Trump campaign and the Russians. And in that role, he's absolutely critical to the story and could potentially be a very significant witness.
What did you take most significantly about what was in and what was not in the indictment, and what possibly we could learn if there is a more expanded charges against Mr. Stone?
I really think this indictment is just the first shot across the bow for Mr. Stone. I think this is Mr. Mueller's team warning Mr. Stone that more is coming, and it's time to either get on the bus or be under it. This is your last chance to cooperate. The way this indictment reads, it sounds like there was a big conspiracy between the Trump campaign and the Russians. It's unclear whether the crimes involved included a quid pro quo type bribery arrangement where the Trump campaign would affect the Republican platform with respect to Ukraine in exchange for these email drops, or whether it was simply an agreement that Russia would make these email drops, effectively making an illegal campaign finance violation of a contribution to the Trump campaign. It's unclear what the underlying crimes are, but it is very clear that there is an ongoing and lengthy and detailed conspiracy between the Trump campaign and the Russians. And the charges that'll come out of that have yet to be seen.
And maybe they'll teach this in first-year law courses if they don't already across this country. But the casualness and the volume of liars and the lies they've told the federal prosecutors, my God, I mean, you would think you wouldn't have to tell this, but it is amazing how much trouble that has begot, different levels of trouble they've gotten because they've decided that they're smartest guys in the room. They lie through their teeth and are caught seemingly every time red-handed.
It is so clear that so many of these lies were designed to try to prevent the fact of Russia's involvement with the Trump campaign from ever getting out. That seems to be the theme of every lie they've told. And that's what makes me think, first, whatever the involvement with the Trump campaign was, it's going to be bad. And second, whatever the involvement with the Trump campaign was, the direction for what to lie about, how to tell the lie, what to hide, that had to be coming from the top of the campaign and probably Mr. Trump himself. That's why these lies are all so consistent.
Roland Riopel, great job as always. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Pleasure to be here, Richard.
And up next, the Democratic field for 2020 gets a little more crowded and complicated. As one expected frontrunner enters the field, a wild card candidate dips his toe, and as many Democrats worry that he actually might help out Donald Trump win another 4 years. Presidential politics straight ahead.